bird because he's going to struggle in a certain direction with his flights because of the crosswind here. And he's going to fly diagonally across you there. Don't look up with your mouth open as he takes off, speaking from experience. So a bird like this has been seen out on the savannas of Africa, killing things as big as juvenile warthogs. They've been seen killing falcons and secretary birds. They're one of the only known predators of the African spiny hedgehog. This is the only owl species in the world that's ever been seen flying past a tree and grabbing a monkey out by its head. There is enough pressure in those talons to crush a baboon's skull. Some of you kids are around the size of a baboon. Just saying. Although the favourite prey, the chosen prey of a wild milky eagle owl, their favourite food out on the savannas of Africa, these birds like to eat nice juicy meerkats. I know that they are desert rats, so let's get over it, everybody. Stuff level. Now lots of people think that all owls come out at night. Not true. Lots of owls come out in the daytime. Daytime owls tend to have yellow coloured eyes. Some owls come out at dawn and dusk. They have orange coloured eyes. Your nocturnal species tend to have dark coloured eyes. He has got jet black eyes. He's a nighttime bird. You might be thinking, well, it's currently, what, 1, something like that? It's the middle of the day. Why is he awake right now if he's a nighttime bird? And the reason for that is because he was hand-reared. Like I said, with the barn owls, he was raised by us. He was raised by people. I raised this bird, in fact, about 8 years ago. The barn owls were raised by Alice, our head keeper, about 6 years ago. So this one, he doesn't really understand that he's a milky eagle owl. As I say, he was raised by me. He kind of thinks he's half milky eagle owl, half really handsome zookeeper.
Our fingernails and our hair molecules are made from. And of course that shell and that helmet are Brian's primary defence against predators out in the wild. Now at that point you think that Brian, being an armadillo, would actually be able to curl up into a ball shape. But unfortunately, it's a bit of a misconception of armadillos. Not all species of armadillo can actually curl up into that ball shape. There's only one species of armadillo in the world that can turn into a ball. That's the three-banded armadillo that come from North America and the USA. What Brian would rather do here, if he were threatened by a predator, is Brian's going up and down the front here, guys. If you take a look at his 2 front feet, you'll see that he's got very large, very chunky claws. It's like having little shovels for toes. And essentially what Brian will do, if he was threatened by a predator, he's going to quickly turn over that soil, and Brian can actually bury himself in about 5 to 10 seconds flat. So he's very well adapted for digging through the dirt and the soil. And because of that, the armadillos also have been well adapted for living underneath the ground in South America. They're so well adapted for, in fact, that... And Baloo here, guys, again, is another species that not many people have heard of. He's what we call a Palawan binturong. I'll say it again because it's a bit of a mouthful. He's called a Palawan binturong. They come from Southeast Asia and Indonesia, and Baloo is actually named after the part of the world that he can be found in, and that's in the Palawan Islands in the Philippines. Now, these guys are an arboreal species, which is the fancy zoological word that means that these guys spend a lot of their lives up in the treetops. As Baloo is showing off here today, he's very well adapted for doing so. If he takes a look at what he was doing with his tail just, that tail is really, really thick, really, really chunky. That tail is packed full of muscle, and Baloo can use it as a prehensile limb. So that essentially means that Baloo's got another arm and a hand that he can use to grab onto things with. And he can use it as an anchor point, so he's not to fall out of any trees, and so he can get to those hard to reach fruits right at the very end of the treetops. Another adaptation they have is that they have pivotable ankles. So most mammals can really turn their ankles about left or right, like us, in 90 degrees. But the binturongs can turn their ankles a full 180 in the complete opposite direction. It'd be like twisting your foot the complete opposite way around. And they have that adaptation so that they can get that nice stretch around those wide tree trunks. And of course, on the end of Baloo's 4 paws, he's got 4 sets of very large sharp claws, which give him lots of grip when it comes to climbing up and down those treetops. Now, the binturongs also go by many nicknames. One nickname the binturongs are more commonly known as is the Asian bear cat. That's really just down to the fact that Baloo looks like a strange mix between a bear and a cat, and no other reason other than that. The binturongs actually belong to a group of animals called civets. Here at Wild, we actually do have another member of the civet family. He's a palm civet. His name is Patrick, and Baloo's actually got more in common with him than he has any bear or any cat. But then probably the funniest nickname